Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Flash Quotes podcast, the number one pod for mobile event businesses of all shapes and sizes. Happy to be here today, hanging out with my friends and Flash Quotes co-founders, Zach Capshaw and Justin Goodhart, also of Goodhart Coffee. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Welcome back, buddy. We missed you. You're coming in hot off 24 hours of consecutive travel to be here with us today. You look fresh. You don't even look like it.
Thank you. Don't look at my eyes. Don't watch on YouTube, people. But thank you. I'm happy to be here. We're going to jump in today and talk about the business landscape for mobile event businesses and what's going on. We've heard from different Flash Quotes customers and friends in our space that there's interesting things they're noticing. There's more competition. There's more action on Google and competition for SEO and website placement. There's different shifts that they're experiencing, low points in demand, followed by some high points in demand recently, especially in the coffee world. There's kind of this feeling that what's going on in the world and economics and various conditions, especially in the United States, is creating perhaps some uncertainty or some softness in demand. But then there's a sense that overall the space, and we all believe this really strongly, the space of mobile event businesses is only on a rocketing upward trajectory. And so there's all these overlays that we want to dig into. Obviously, we have the direct experience from Justin and his business with Goodhart Coffee to talk about. So it should be really, really fun. If you don't want to miss future conversations that are awesome like this, just real quick, suggest you like and subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you're getting this podcast. And if you want to help other people find it, feel free to give us a review. That always helps a ton. And hit us up in the comments. We're going to be watching those comments, and hopefully that'll be a really cool place for conversation. So let's jump in, man. Justin, I think natural to start with you on this, with your experience with Goodhart. I know COVID was also a part of this dynamic where there's a huge surge that kind of came out of that as people were ready to get out. And I think when you've talked to us about the journey and kind of the ups and downs, that was a really critical marker. I remember talking to you while we were all sheltering in place and you were trying to figure out, like, with your hustle mentality, what am I going to do here? Like, I'm going to drive and like bring coffee to people's houses, and this doesn't scale. It doesn't make any sense, but I just want to be on people's minds. I distinctly remember those conversations, and that was scary as all get out, I'm sure, as a business owner. But can you take us back? Feel free to talk a little bit about the pain points there, but more interesting is the surge and how that changed the way you saw your business and kind of the future growth, and perhaps the experience that mobile event businesses overall had there, and then the journey from that point, late 2020, 2021 to now in 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. There's such an interesting landscape and such an interesting journey that, the economy has undergone in the last, 5, 10, 15 years, and how that affects coffee catering and mobile event services is really fascinating. So I almost want to zoom out real quick, and I want to talk about the different waves of coffee catering first, to kind of just contextualize it a little bit in the last 15, 20, 30 years, and then move forward into today's and some of the more economic and event catering trends we're seeing. I kind of internally, I don't know if other folks really talk about this or think about this, but I feel like there's been 3 waves of coffee catering. And this is different than like third wave specialty coffee. This is like just specific to coffee catering. From my perspective and my time in the industry, I feel like there's kind of been 3 waves. And the first wave, at least for me, is those caterers who've been doing this for 10 plus years, 10, 20, 30 years. There's a small number of caterers around the US who've been at the catering, specifically coffee catering, for decades, 1, 2, 3 plus decades. So that to me is like the first wave. They were really the pioneers. Like, this stuff just absolutely did not exist. They didn't know anyone. They couldn't even find anyone. You couldn't even Google anyone that would do this. And they largely just built their businesses by word of mouth. Then there's kind of like the second wave, and it feels like a lot of those business started around like whatever it is, 10 to 15 years ago, or maybe more, like I should say like 7 to 10, 12 years ago. And I can't really even place myself. Like, I can't place Good Heart Coffee. I don't really know if I'm in that second wave. Maybe there's four waves, but regardless, there's the people who inspired me, right? Who inspired this generation of coffee caterers who started like 5 to 8 years ago. And in my mind, those are the people like June from Welcome Coffee Cart. We actually should have her on the podcast at some point. And those, is it Two Pines or Three Pines? Three Pines Coffee in Salt Lake City, and just some of those ones that actually inspired me and all of the people that started like 5 to 7 years ago. So that was kind of the second wave, and maybe I'm probably part of the second wave because I do think I'm like the late part of the second wave of coffee catering. There's definitely more folks starting to do it like 5 to 8 years ago. And then in the last, I would say, 1 to 4 years, there's just been this incredible and accelerating boom of coffee caterers and really on-site event services of all types. And that's really exciting. It's crazy. That feels like it's just accelerating. If you go back 2 years, like the number of new mobile event businesses starting was way fewer than it is even today. And so that's been really cool to see. I mean, the number of brand new caterers that sign up for flash quotes on a daily basis is really remarkable. So to me, that's kind of like the three waves. Again, this is just, I just made all this up, but it's kind of the lens that I'm looking down on it with. And yeah, I mean, it's what we started to see for sure is increased competition, and there's multiple factors that play into the increased competition and kind of the macroeconomic climate that coffee caterers find themselves in. But one thing that I want to highlight before I pause and let Zach and Daniel ask follow-up questions or just dive into other stuff here is that one big takeaway is that, and it gives me a lot of peace of mind, is that these early coffee caterers that have been around for decades, 10, 20, 30 years, their businesses have survived multiple economic cycles through like the Great Recession. I think that's what the one in 2007 is called, right? They've survived some really big economic downturns and upheavals and highs and lows. And that gives me great peace of mind because there will be another one at some point, right? It happens every 7, 15, 20 years, whatever. There's going to be a big economic ups and downs. And it gives me, yeah, I love that. I'm like, okay, we could have that, but my business could survive if I play my cards right. So those are kind of where I want to jump in, and there's a lot of other threads I want to pull here soon.
Maybe unpack the macroeconomic angle a little bit, Justin, because I think it's clear in your mind as someone who's been around for a while that the event business kind of ebbs and flows a little bit with the macroeconomy. Maybe people who are just starting out don't totally understand that, but maybe you can just unpack why that is and how you've seen your business kind of ride up and down with the boom times and the harder times.
Yeah. This to me, like I've really only seen one of these cycles in coffee catering, and that was, of course, COVID. And COVID was crazy for the entire world, right? Like we all experienced these really wild swings and highs and lows. But how it affects coffee catering specifically was, at least this is how I view it. So we have COVID, all events and restaurants and everything are put on hold, right? Coffee caterers before that, they were growing and they were, they were growing their businesses, but it definitely was not at the rate we started to see post-COVID. So you have a lot of interesting variables at play during COVID, where first, everyone went to work remotely. And so there was nothing for coffee caterers to do. Like everyone kind of shut down for whatever it was, 3 to 12 months, and had very, very, very few events. And then companies kind of had enough of the total, like 100% remote. And then there was this huge boom of companies who, well, with COVID, I don't know that anyone expected it, but the economy is also booming, right? As the stocks like start to recover. There was obviously the initial downturns, but the economy is recovering. Like everyone's getting tons of money. Like tech stocks are going through the roof. And then these tech companies start hiring like crazy. And so you could get a new tech job every 6 months. There's just tons of tech workers. Everyone's overhiring. And everyone then is trying, especially tech workers, trying to like get people back into the office. And so they were using at that time much more of like a carrot than a stick to get people back into the office. And that's kind of where coffee caterers come in. So I can't tell you the number of like back to office or, staff appreciation or just kind of special treats. Tech companies are trying to lure people back in and add all these office perks, and coffee carts really came in hugely there. And so like that was a huge tide that we all were surfing on, whether you know it or not. Like every single coffee caterer who existed around either before or prior, during or prior to COVID, when that surge started to happen, everybody exploded. It was probably the most rapid explosion of coffee catering and event services maybe that has happened up to this point in the US economy. I'm not really sure.
It's not just work too, right? Like all the weddings that got postponed during COVID all happened,
Yes.
right? Like in a 12-month span, and all the conferences that got, it's like everyone was just
That's so
kept
true.
their backlog of in-person events that they wanted to do during COVID and couldn't, and then threw them all at once in 2021.
Yep. So really all events and in-person concert ticket sale, like the price of concert tickets is like blowing up and getting crazy expensive, and all these events are happening and everyone's growing and the economy is recovering and tech companies are doing great. And then about a year and a half ago, it feels like things start softening up, AI, right? This is kind of weird. Chat GPT is launched. Whatever, has it been 3 years, 2 years? I don't even know.
Yeah, November 22, I think.
Yeah, and so then we get like Chat GPT, and then you start to see tech companies like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. You start to almost see people like reduce their hiring, and especially as Chat GPT has gotten more and more, that's only exaggerated even up to today, where it's like, the post-COVID glow is gone, and the economy's kind of tightening up, and you have the potential for AI to no companies really know the fallout of what could be possible with AI. And so they're all like conservative. What is this? What does this mean? And so it feels like hiring slows down. And then gradually over time, like the job market starts to it's only since the last, like, I would say 6 to 12 months, like it's gotten way more hard to find a job. If you lose your tech job, you might be searching for 6 to 12 months to find a new one. It's not at all what it used to be out there. And so, now companies have felt the tide shift and they're using a little bit more of the stick. It's like everyone needs to return to office or quit. And so, all of these dynamics at play are now, from my perspective, starting to kind of soften the events industry a little bit, and particularly around March of this year, when like all the tariffs and economic uncertainty really hit hard. It put a lot of stuff on hold, and we definitely saw like I think at Good Heart Coffee up through March of this year, we were like up 50 to 60% year over year from the year prior. And then come March, boom, like we are down. We're like barely like 15-20% over where we were in like, April 2025 compared to April 2024. So a lot of these strange and big picture things have really affected coffee catering, or at least in my mind, I feel like I'm able to draw some of these connections, and it feels like we saw that. I mean, would you guys agree that we did start to see, some like maybe bookings like flash quotes wide slow down a little bit and some stuff like that? What kind of comments or thoughts or perspectives do you guys feel like you've noticed, just from because we do kind of have a window into this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to also parse it out with the seasonality, and we're also dealing with being a newer company, like not a huge baseline, and so there are lots of different variables to parse through. But I think we saw that, and we had a lot of anecdata from different customers saying, yeah, this is maybe a slower summer than I remember. The growth rate year over year is not as high. Um, I think a lot of that does have to do with kind of the economic uncertainty, probably globally, and in the United States is obviously what we're accustomed to. Businesses, more than anything, they just want stability and consistency. And so we entered a period, especially right there in that kind of Q2 timeframe, of like just massive uncertainty about what's to come. And not that has all been sorted out, but it was kind of this peak uncertainty that people were dealing with. And mobile event businesses are really a luxury good in a lot of cases, depending on what it is. But you do then have to deal with that reality that when budgets get tightened, like this is going to be something that is always going to be on the table, as something that is either pulled back or eliminated altogether. And so I would say folks that are dependent on the organizations, and like corporate sort of clients probably felt it especially. Did you notice it in like individuals for weddings and just across the board? Or do you have any sense on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel, we have grown so much. Our team has grown, our systems have improved, our SEO has improved. We spend more on ads. Everything has grown. Goodheart has improved dramatically, in my opinion, in the last year. We're the strongest we've ever been from a team, from all of those perspectives: systems, teams, processes, budget. But this summer was clawing just to, like, from a revenue perspective, kind of just to float exactly where we were last summer. And last summer was brutal. With like, and I've said this a number of times, it was like from the May high, right? The euphoria of May that all coffee caterers know, euphoria and stress, euphoria from the revenue, stress from the just sheer volume and hard work. Goodheart dropped like 40% in June and another 40% in July. And that happened last year and it happened this year. And we were like basically at the same revenue over the summer. Now that could be because we're so corporate, teacher school heavy. And maybe we're not as wedding private event heavy. Because I know summer is the busy season for some industries and some vendors, but for us, definitely not. So yeah, it was a harder summer, especially after putting in so much work and investing and seeing growth in the first part of the year, and then to be like completely flat basically in the summer was a bit of a buzzkill. But
Yeah.
now I feel good because September we're flying.
So the number one question we get is, what software do I need besides Flash Quotes to help me grow my business? So we decided to put together a cheat sheet. It covers everything from scheduling tools, communication tools, payroll, basically every category of software you need to run a growing event business on top of Flash Quotes. You'll save a ton of time, energy, and money trying to experiment with other tools if you just take our word for it. We've tested them all, and we have a great list for you. So it's free. You can just scan this QR code or go to flashquotes.com/software tools and download that free cheat sheet. All right, back to the pod. As we're talking, it's kind of clarifying in my mind. I think for business owners in this space, there's kind of four big external forces that exert pressure on your business in different ways, in my mind. One is the macroeconomy, which we've been talking about. That's kind of, I think it's net neutral over time. There's boom times and then there's like slight tightening times. So over a long enough time horizon, if your business sticks around, maybe those cancel out, but it does, on a year-to-year basis, it may help or hurt your growth a little bit. That's one, macroeconomy. Two is seasonality. We've talked about that. Depending on what your service is, if it's coffee or ice cream, or maybe if it's heavily wedding related, like there's just going to be times of year where you're way busier and times where you're not. So in every year, there's kind of the ebb and flow of seasonality. The third force is, I think, a positive, a boon force, which is, in general, this segment is growing. Like, people are becoming more aware of mobile event service businesses. More people are experiencing them and then wanting it for their wedding, for their baby shower, for their conference, for their event, for their office. So the overall pie of coffee catering opportunities, or dessert cart catering opportunities, or bar catering opportunities is growing as more people get exposed to it, as some very popular businesses in the space are growing on social media and TikTok. And there's just a general awareness that this is a thing that you can do for your office or for your event, and it's cool. So that pie is constantly expanding and making the opportunity bigger for everyone. But the fourth is also increased competition because of that, right? And that's that's a potential negative. More people are starting these types of businesses every day, which is great for Flash Quotes, but we've heard from our customers, like, it's getting more competitive out there. I'm seeing a lot more people popping up in my city trying to do the same thing. So maybe that's a segue to handling competition and talking about that dynamic, and what we have some ideas on how to deal with that. But maybe for starters, Justin, I'd love just for you to share some information about what it was like in the early days riding the third wave, as far as how easy it was to rank in SEO, how cheap your Google ads were, like how it was just this wide open opportunity, and then how that's tightened up as competition has increased.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was in 2022 when I launched in San Francisco. I mean, I rocketed to like the second place in organic Google SEO. easily within like a month or two. It was crazy. Like I had bookings coming through before I even had the headquarters, because I was kind of testing demand. And I've actually, before Flash Quotes ever existed, actually, like I developed a really great strategy for how do you test if a new city is going to be worthwhile, if the if the leads are there, if the bookings are there. And so I remember when I was testing it, like I launched my page, rocketed to the top of San Francisco coffee catering rankings, and then actually had, like, I remember this one week I got 2 real San Francisco bookings. We instant quoted, they instant booked, and I was like, whoa, like I was just testing, like I'm not even operating, I can't service you yet. So I did pass them along. But yeah, it was way, way easier. And now, we're in a really fast moving landscape with how AI is affecting search and how AI is affecting Google and the sources that AI draws from. But, and more people knowing about SEO, and we're constantly referring people out, because we know, like, to have even a chance, it's now no longer like if you do SEO, you'll rise to the top. It's actually a little bit more like if you don't do SEO, your business will never go anywhere. It's almost like instead of being a nice to have, it's a must have starting point, baseline, fundamental for at least coffee catering. And coffee catering has gotten, I think, yeah, really competitive, because there's a lot of good information out there now, and people executing on that. And so when that's the case, then the answer becomes, or the competitive edge becomes, do things that other people can't fake, or they can't cheat it. And it just takes time to build, aka reviews and other forms of social proof. Like, amazing photos are kind of another form of social proof, if you've got all these incredible cart branded photos, that sort of thing. And the other one, which will always win, you can never go wrong, and this will always be a competitive edge, is service and responsiveness. And that is one that I am constantly pushing too. Like, I want to be the first to get you the quote. I want to be the first to have my event planner actually call you and reach out, and I want it to be an amazing experience. I want to provide really, really amazing service. And that's definitely one that we push really hard. Like, I almost very seriously considering hiring someone who is strictly, their entire job is just kind of customer care. My vision is to have a handwritten card go out to every single person who ever books us, and just say thanks. Like, thank you for hiring us for your wedding. It was a pleasure to serve, and to use that as an opportunity then to, I mean, I want it to be sincere, but obviously there's an economic incentive to it as well. So those sorts of things are where my mind goes to just maintain the competitive edge and cut through the noise. So yeah, the competition is real. And what I will say, for those of you, if you're an established caterer and you've been at this 3, 4, 5 years or more, you have to evolve. If you're a caterer who's been around 8 to 10 plus years and you haven't made any changes or adaptations to your website, your strategy, your lead intake and kind of quoting flow, your customer service, I bet you're feeling it. I bet you're feeling the pinch a lot, and I bet you feel like your business is shrinking. And my caution is, like, you have to start evolving immediately with the times. Because if not, you are going to slowly get just constricted by everyone entering the market, and you won't be able to maintain the edge that you maybe maintained for 5 to 10 years, but those times are over if you're not going to adapt and evolve with the shifting and rapidly evolving landscape.
That's right, man. I mean, you really, it's about having this growth mindset of how you approach your business and what you're going to do. And recently I kind of had that idea reframed in my head, because I used to think growth mindset was kind of cringe, like always be growing, like you either grow or you die, that sort of vibe. But the way it came across recently is like a growth mindset is just becoming obsessed and getting the deep satisfaction from the journey of growth, and really a fundamental realization of or embracing something you already know, which is every destination you reach, every high, every amazing September is followed by, I want to get a bigger September next year. Every destination you hit is just not going to be something that sticks with you for a long time, it's usually followed by a resetting of expectations and goals. And the idea is you need to reshift what drives you and where you get your dopamine from. What's actually going to feed you and give you energy and give you the drive to push forward. And if you're a business in that 5 to 7 year range, you really have to dig deep and say, I'm going to get energy from the growth, not from where I am presently, not from some destination in the future, but I'm actually going to kind of rewire my internal components and just every day say, I love this growth. Like I'm here and I'm ready to show up and I'm ready to take advantage of what's going on in this cool space that's growing and embrace the competition and kind of reshift that so that growth mindset is a really positive thing for you and you internalize it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like competition, think of competition as a good thing. It will make you a better business owner. It will make your business better. It will expose inefficiencies or things that you could be doing better, whether that's your website or your SEO or your customer service or your on-site experience service. Like use it as a learning opportunity and a way to benchmark yourself to get ideas on how to get better. And don't worry about it too much. I think some people tend to get into a mindset of, oh, like it's my pie and someone's coming to try and take a piece, and there's only so much to go around and have this scarcity mindset. But I think that's the wrong way to look at it in any business, but particularly here for event businesses. The pie is constantly expanding. Like we just told you, there's more and more people interested in these services every day. Justin, you had a great quote one time, which was paraphrasing. It was, my competition is not the other coffee caterers. My competition is them not having a coffee cart at their event or using that budget for something else or just getting distracted and scrolling away to Facebook and forgetting to book me or whatever. So if you think about it from that lens of how can I make this product so awesome that more and more people are going to want it and expand the pool of people who want these types of things at their event and they can find out about it and book me, that I think that's the right lens. And if you approach it from that angle, you'll be kind of immune to competition. You'll always have a space. Your business will always continue to grow because you're doing it better and you're constantly improving.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. I know, regardless of what you think of him, like, Jeff Bezos, who, they're known for maybe not treating their workers the best and some things like that. But I think he has had, and I am inspired by his focus on, or his aspirational focus, which is like, we want to be the world's most customer-centric business. And I think, sure, like you do have to be loosely aware of trends in your industry and just loosely what your competition is doing, but actually ruthless focus on serving your customers and on satisfying your customers is actually where that competitive advantage lies and where you can't go wrong. Like, that's where you'll build up that huge base of repeat customers that are never going to go anywhere else because you've treated them so well. You're so customer focused. And yeah, I'm definitely trying. That's a big one for me, is like, I do want to continually innovate and prioritize. And I mean, I think I've internally thought it. I don't know if I've said it publicly, but I want to be the most customer-centric coffee catering company in the US. Like, that's one of my goals. And I hope, yeah, like Zach, that line that you quoted from me is not from me. It's actually from this guy who wrote the book Selling the Invisible. And it talks about, the challenges of selling service businesses and something that's not tangible, like a physical product. And it really comes from like, the alternatives are them doing nothing, them using your service, or doing it themselves. And so, yeah, we want to make it so easy and want to be so customer centric that it's an absolute no brainer to hire you.
I think there's a Henry Ford quote it goes like, competition is the cutting edge of business. It's always shaving away cost and inefficiency. Like, I think that's you can think about it as that lens, right? It's making your business better, not taking away your special prize, right? You're precious.
Yeah.
One Way to Compete, our Flash Quotes podcast, is sponsored by One Way to Compete, which is the Flash Quotes product. We've seen a whole bunch of people killing it with Flash Quotes, and recently Zach released a intake form. You can get leads. You can host it on your Instagram. People are using images on Instagram, TikTok, stories to drive engagement and drive new people into this amazing space of mobile event businesses. So check that out. We notice in the data that you can hook up instant quoting from Flash Quotes. We are both beautiful and fast, and we crush. And by quoting quickly, you can increase your booking rate by 40, 50%. That's real revenue growth for your business. So keep enjoying the listening, but also send us an email if you haven't signed up. hello@flashquotes.com. We'll get back to you same day, every time.
If you're a caterer,
I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff. We've seen a Flash Quotes user enter a city with 0 Flash Quotes users. Now, this person is an incredible operator, no doubt, but they blow into this city, into an established city, and start like pulling events, like their gravity in that city due to their operations and Flash Quotes, instant quoting, instant booking has been incredible. We've also have so many people using us in some cities that finally the people who are not the early adopters, like the top 5, 8 caterers in the city are all using Flash Quotes, and then kind of the late adopters come in and say, man, I've noticed my bookings are down, I've noticed all my competitors using Flash Quotes, I want to get on, I need to be quoting faster because everyone else is quoting faster. And so we've definitely seen some and heard some really cool stories about what Flash Quotes users are doing, and it brings us a lot of joy, especially the ones talking about, we had Callie on the podcast. We've had Steven from Canyons Coffee. They actually know each other, talking about that Flash Quotes saves me like 2 to 3 hours a day of emailing. Like, how awesome is that? That's super cool. So if you haven't already, you may have, ideas about what Flash Quotes is. You may not fully understand it. Just book a demo with me, and I think you'll be really surprised and excited by what you see when you really get that firsthand demo and experience of the entire customer journey, of the admin journey, the barista journey. It's really powerful, and we're really proud of what we've built, and we're not stopping. We're just launching new features every week, every month, and are really committed to making an incredible product for mobile event businesses.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can thank Justin and his amazing free content for the increased competition too. I know, Justin, you were like, dang, I'm gonna be giving away my edge. Hopefully you don't feel that way. I think Zach and I's response to you was like, dude, you are the edge. You're crazy and obsessive in the best of ways. So I know you guys will continue to crush, and many other people like you. But it has been cool to see a community growing and the amount of information, public information shared at no cost just to really help the industry grow is super exciting. And I think more often than not, it's just growing the overall pie, people that are aware of this as an option versus it being a zero-sum game. So I love that.
Cool. Well, any other kind of final closing thoughts?
I want to give you a rapid fire section here at the end, Justin. So if people stayed this long, I think they've got a better sense of maybe why their bookings are up or down, or what forces are going on that generally affect the event industry and these businesses. But I want to make sure this episode is really actionable. So I'm gonna just fire off at you a handful of quick hit questions, like what can people do if they listen to this episode to make some immediate changes that will help them stand out against the competition. Obviously, signing up for Flash Quotes is the highest leverage one. So if you haven't done that, obviously start there. But besides that, let's start maybe with SEO and website. What would you recommend people do to make sure that they're not getting overshadowed by the competition in SEO and website?
Get Google reviews. That's more powerful than your website. Google reviews get people to your website, but start with Google reviews. Then just make sure your H1, which is a header 1 designation, it's a technical SEO, is coffee catering, your city name.
Cool. What about the sales process? So once they get their inquiry in Flash Quotes, what can they do to level up their game to close as many leads as possible?
Get your quotes out faster, ideally within 15, 60 minutes, with every 15-minute increment likely representing a drop-off in your booking percentage. Also text your leads. Email is cluttered, and especially with corporate, there's tons of crazy corporate spam filters that you're going to get trapped in if you don't call or text them as well.
Cool. And then what about post-booking from the event planning, logistics, service side, day of event side, any frequently missed things that people could think about improving, or how should they think about improving that process to make sure they're going to get a 5-star review at the end?
Have your baristas text the site contact when they're leaving and kind of keep them updated. Serve the site contact or the person who booked you immediately as soon as you can, even before your cart is technically open. And then before, like right after, ask for the Google review. Your admin team should be asking for the Google review the day of, ideally like right when your barista or your staff member leaves the site. That's when they're, especially if the event ask them how it went. If it didn't go well, you don't want to send them the link yet. You want to resolve the issue and make them feel heard and do whatever. That's when their emotions are going to be highest if it went well, and that's when they're most likely to leave you a Google review.
I love that little tip. It's so simple but so impactful. Make sure that whoever's serving the event finds the person who booked you, or at least the site contact, but ideally the person who booked you and is paying, and ask them what they want. Ask them, hey, what's your drink order? I'm going to make that like immediately before we even open, whether it's a cocktail, a coffee. Just make sure that person has an amazing experience as soon as possible once you arrive. I think that's just a no-brainer way to increase your odds of having a good review and a good experience.
Nice. Well, thanks for hanging out, people. We will be back in your feed next week. Until then, like, subscribe, give us a comment. If you have questions or thoughts about this episode, anything we didn't answer, any ideas for future pods, just give us a comment and we'll be sure to check it out and hit you back.
And also rate and review. If you're listening on Apple, rate and review us. Spotify, rate and review us if you would. It really helps.
Yeah. Spotify people listened up. They gave us, I think, 9 reviews since last time, but Apple people are not. They're holding out. So I think we have no reviews on Apple. So it's unacceptable. If you're on Apple Podcasts right now, just give us a 5-star, please. We can't be we were just talking about reviews and how important they are. We have no reviews on the podcast.
Get there. Keep